couldn't really see myself doing anything else. Driving a bus. My dad drives a bus. My mom's a school teacher. My grandpa was a telephone man. My brother's a drag queen. Yeah, and I paint. I paint pictures, and I guess I have my finger on the pulse of just what goes on around me. And that kind of, wherever that goes, will lead me to my future. I'm from San Jose. I'm not from the normal side of San Jose, obviously. Grew up in the country, get a lot of different people up here. It's not hectic. I lived a very sheltered life as a kid. It wasn't a bad childhood, but it was very sheltered. So I guess I just drew pictures to pass the time. My formal training came from probably age 3. My grandma, I'd like to think, was my first art teacher. And then around 12, my mom was a preschool teacher, and she had met somebody in there through. It was his daughter. He was, I'm not going to mention his name, but he's a world-renowned artist, and he teaches all adults. And I think he took a look at my work, and he pulled me right in. I learned fundamental realistic drawing from him. That's probably the only training I really have, is realistic drawing. I've never been taught how to paint. About 4 years after that, I went and I bought some oils and a canvas. And I knew I could paint. I never did it before, but I knew I could do it. It's just one of those things I think you just feel. And I had the materials for about a year. And then I picked it up and I did a painting, and it turned out extremely well, or at least at the time it was well. I'd probably say it's crap now, but then after that I just started painting more, and that's kind of just how it happened. I just started to paint, and I just started, I guess if you want to call it good, I got good at it, and now we're here.
How old are you?
20 years old. Started painting probably 3 years ago. I'm primarily inspired by, it's really a hard question, because I don't think you can really put a finger on what inspires you as an artist. It's kind of just like one of those things that, comes and goes. You don't really control your creativity. It kind of, it's got a mind of its own sometimes. You have to be in a constant stage of becoming, I think, as an artist. Whether you are always painting, or you decide to change your style in painting, or you decide to go to music, or whatever, you are trying to, or at least I am trying to, always push the limit and never get comfortable. If I start to feel comfortable, that means it's too easy and it's time to change. I like to look at my paintings as kind of like there's stories, but they're stories you've heard, They're stories you know about, whether you know them consciously or unconsciously, but you know about them. You've heard of them at some point in your life. I couldn't really go too far into it, because I think that'd be just a cop-out. The stories are kind of what you make it sometimes, because words are different for everybody. Just because I tell you a word doesn't mean necessarily you're going to have the same meaning for it. And I think images are the same way. You see an image, if I showed you an image of a house, or if I just said the word house, you'd get a different image than I would. I would get an image of a big greenhouse, on a mountain range, and you would probably get something else wherever you were from, whatever comes to your mind that you would remember. So stories, they're just stories. Some of them aren't even that deep, to even be called that, but I like to think of them all as stories to some, even if a very small degree they are that, you know.
Do you ever find yourself telling a story continuously? Maybe in your painting, some way you're trying to tell a story of some sort?
Like a philosophy. Am I trying to tell have a philosophy behind it?
Yeah. Let's go there.
No. No, yes and no.
Yes and no what?
Yes and no, there's a philosophy, you know, good luck. Every painting says good luck. Hope you make it. Probably that.
What's making it?
Or whatever your mind perceives, I guess, is making it. You know, whatever your life, whatever you set out or want in life, you know, or need or think that you need, you know. I guess that you get that